His buddies tiptoed behind him as he contemplated where the money was buried. The only thing left was to find the old lady's jewelry stash. That night, a creaky door interrupted the silence. Their luck ran out. They felt they could get away with it. North Carolina suburbs were burglarized by this group. For months, they escaped. They felt untouchable, and they thought that house would be an easy job too. They didn't know who they were messing with. The gang had been the North Carolina Police Department's biggest headache for almost half a year. They were blamed for a crime spree. The thieves who broke into and looted dozens of North Carolina homes were untraceable. Nobody expected a 75-year-old grandmother to do what the police department couldn't. The ruthless gang stole TVs, laptops, jewelry, and more from houses they broke into. They used different cars, masks, and clothes each time to avoid being caught on camera or leaving traces in the houses they broke into. They seemed unstoppable. By this time, they felt above the law. North Carolina police considered involving the FBI. Thieves felt untouchable. Little did they know that crime always has its punishment, and they would soon face their worst nightmare. 75-year-old Karen Davis would kill the burglars. She's a cheerful, helpful neighbor to her neighbors. If you like my videos, don't forget to like or subscribe. Thanks in advance. Thieves found her easy prey. The 75-year-old lady had a secret. Bodybuilding was her biggest hobby, which was unusual for a woman her age. After retiring, she started exercising seriously. Her dedication and results impressed gymgoers. Karen, 75, is strong like a 20-year-old man. She boasts of winning several bodybuilding competitions in recent years. This granny's unusual hobby has raised eyebrows. She's been rumored, gossiped, and theorized about. Some people wonder if Karen used drugs to get her body. A 75-year-old woman scoring like a young male weightlifter is rare. Karen always claimed to be 100% natural. She says it's about dedication, discipline, and nutrition. Karen always considered bodybuilding a hobby. She didn't know it would protect her life, possessions, and community one day. The thieves didn't know the outcome of their latest scheme. They thought entering Karen's house that night would be easy. Karen was asleep when the thieves broke in at 2 a.m. They were still searching the house for valuables when they were caught. Karen awoke suddenly. She went to the kitchen for water despite not hearing anything. It began then. Karen only took a few seconds to adjust to seeing masked strangers in her house. As reported later, the two parties immediately fought. Its outcome was unforeseeable. 3 of the 4 gang members were knocked out, and Karen held the last one down until the police arrived. After entering the room, the officers were amazed and probably ashamed. Who would have thought a 75-year-old woman could do what they had tried for months? Karen said the officers were very kind and appreciative. They requested selfies with her. They also asked her if she was all right, and she assured them that she hadn't even got a single bruise. Clearly, it was the robbers who got the worst deal from the altercation. Finally, the gang that terrorized North Carolina was caught. For our awaiting trial. As expected, Karen is proud of her community service, bodybuilding hobby, and dedication in such a dire situation. This wasn't the first time a granny awoke some would-be thieves. We've all heard about elderly victims being easy targets. Phone scams, door-to-door sales, and thieves target them. They are vulnerable and targeted at the best times. The story began when 3 men assaulted Karen while shopping. They didn't realize she was no ordinary granny. She had surprises. Winifred Peel, 77, from a Liverpool suburb looks like any other older woman. Her retirement is busy. She enjoyed her slower life and went about her daily business. Winifred lived an active childhood. She played sports and helped her father fix things at home. She never forgot something that may have saved her life. Winifred saw a group of young men near the bank while walking to her favorite cafe for tea and cake. She ignored them arguing. She should have paid more attention, though. She remembered to buy a gift for her best friend's daughter on her way. She quickly went shopping and found the perfect gift, but she didn't have any money. She ran to the nearest ATM because it was a small town with no banks. Winifred saw an ATM after several minutes and approached. She fumbled in her bag for her bank card as she approached. She stopped before the ATM to search her bag. She heard a shuffle while staring into her bag. She had no idea her brief hesitation would change her life. Looking up, she flushed. She assumed the shuffling behind her was someone else trying to use the machine. She turned to see a woman patiently waiting for her to finish. "You go ahead, I'll be a minute," Winifred told the woman. She thanked her and went to the machine while Winifred searched her bag. She was unaware of impending danger. Winifred was always trusting. "Give kindness, receive kindness," was her motto. It had served her well. She saw several shadows over her while searching her bag. She found her bank card without thinking as she searched her bag. That was a mistake. Winifred inserted her card and followed the prompts. She entered her PIN and clicked "Continue." She felt knocked down as her vision blurred. Winifred was disoriented. She attempted to comprehend the situation. She was in danger. How could she defend herself? Everything happened instantly. From shadows to PIN, shuffling, and falling. She barely had time to process it. As she fell, her body ached. Adrenaline surged. She thought, "You're not taking my money, young man." She stood up and assaulted him. She rose, furious. She overtook them before they could react. The same three men caused a scene at the bank earlier. They thought harassing old ladies would work better. Winnie was a poor target. She grabbed his head and wrestled him against the wall, leaping at him. Winnie's face was blank, showing no fear or anger. The thieves attacked her instantly. Winnie was old but strong. Winnie's right hand hit one thief's face as 6 rough hands tried to grab her. His accomplices panicked and dragged him away. Winnie chased before realizing the gravity of the situation. She said, "What if he had a knife? I could be gone today." She cursed herself for letting them go. It wasn't over. Hearing the noise, nearby people saw Winifred looking distressed. She waved them off, insisting they catch the attackers. One person stayed with her, while the other 2 ran around the corner to see them before it was too late. The unlucky trio of teenage criminals, Felix Stoica, 19, Piper Dumitru, 18, and Florin Jablsky, 18, were looking for easy targets that night, but underestimated Winnie's determination not to be taken advantage of. They drove from Manchester to Bromborough to hunt vulnerable prey. They got more than they expected. Short chase. The Good Samaritans were too late to see where the attackers ran, but the police were close behind. Winnie's furious counterattack did some damage. The attack left marks on the cash machine wall and floor, leading around the corner. Winifred exercised 4 times a week. Her routine had lessened as she aged, but her persistence kept her fit. Her body defended herself on her attack day. She brought the thieves to justice by unleashing her rage. Unfortunately, this happens often. Fortunately, another Texer's grandmother was equally ready to fight her attackers. 2 masked men broke into Texan grandma's home. After seeing the woman, they realized they made a big mistake. They broke into the wrong house that day. 2 men entered Grandma Rose's house to steal her valuables. The old lady had other plans for the burglars. Grandma Rose, 60, lived alone in Harris County, Texas, 3 years after her husband John died. The elderly woman lived quietly and tried to stay active. Grandma Rose was used to doing everything herself, though her daughter occasionally helped. Would she handle what happened next? Grandma Rose's neighborhood had more robberies. Her neighbors were alarmed and took extra precautions. Grandma Rose tried to protect herself, but it was hard. She couldn't afford a house alarm or anything fancy. Then what? Grandma Rose was extra cautious because she lived alone. She didn't want to have intruders break into her home to steal her stuff or even harm her. What could the old woman do? Her daughter and grandchildren visited occasionally, but she was alone. She had to watch out. Is that enough? The national recession was affecting the old woman. She couldn't afford everything anymore. Her medicine and utilities came first. Because of that, when she was threatened with a robbery, she did something shocking that shocked the nation. Old lady worked most of her life. She worked from 16 to 50 before retiring due to health issues. When she could, the grandma worked in her backyard garden. She expected some quiet in her twilight years. Unfortunately, no. She loved her belongings regardless of their value. These weren't objects. They were memories of her beautiful life with her beloved husband in that home. So when two men tried to rob her of the most valuable things she had, the old lady had the perfect response for them. She valued them more than her life. Rose had always been a strong-willed woman, and everyone who knew her loved her for that. Her personality put her in many precarious situations. The two men who invaded her home didn't know her or her capabilities. Grandma Rose was fearless despite her age. However, is her response appropriate? Two local men planned to burglarize homes and steal valuables. They looked at quiet old people neighborhoods thinking it would be easy. It was their biggest mistake. They chose a hard-to-rob house. Two young men broke into the wrong house that day. They thought no one was home or that someone who wouldn't fight would let them do their thing. They expected a simple escape. Incorrect. Grandma Rose's plan was different. Her home choice was disastrous. The burglars entered Rose's house with a crowbar and slowly entered the living room. They sought valuables. Since it was quiet, they thought no one was home, but Grandma Rose had a surprise for them. She acted after hearing them. Grandma Rose hid a gift from her late husband in her bedroom. That saved her. The old woman confronted the men in the living room. The burglars froze at her approach. The old lady seemed insane. She wouldn't give up her treasures. Grandma Rose pointed something at the burglars and yelled to leave. After a moment, they saw the old lady's weapon. The burglars were armed, but when the old lady fired a shot, they panicked and ran. The old woman fired several rounds at the fleeing suspects, hitting one. The suspect collapsed and died in her front yard. Police searched for the man who jumped a fence. Grandma Rose survived the break-in. Grandma Rose's home defense made national news. The old lady received praise from social media users. Rose was still shaken, especially since one of the burglars died. But Texas house robberies are risky. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.